Do you realize that you might be the one fueling a narcissistic woman's control over you? You heard that right. It's not just her manipulation at play. It's the energy you're unknowingly giving her every single day. Every time you doubt yourself, every time you hold back to keep the peace, every time you chase her approval just to feel seen, you hand her more power. You become the source that keeps her control alive. At first, it doesn't look like manipulation. It feels like connection. She's charming, confident, magnetic. Everything about her demands attention. She knows exactly how to make you feel special, how to make you believe you finally found someone who understands you. But slowly, something starts to change. The warmth fades. The validation you once got freely now has a price. You begin to question yourself more than ever before. What you said, how you acted, what you could have done differently. And before you realize it, you're no longer in control. You're being managed, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even spiritually, by someone who feeds on your self-doubt. This isn't just about romantic relationships. It can happen with a friend, a colleague, even a family member. The pattern is always the same. The more you give away your confidence, the more room you create for a narcissistic person to take control. This video isn't here to make you feel guilty. It's here to wake you up, to show you the patterns you've been part of, maybe for years, without noticing, because once you see how it works, you'll finally understand how to stop feeding the fire that's been burning you from the inside out. The first root, when insecurity seeks validation. Every manipulative relationship begins not with malice, but with something deeply human. The quiet, aching need to feel valued. We all want to be seen, appreciated, and loved for who we are. But when that desire comes from a place of insecurity, it becomes a doorway, one that opens us up to people who know how to walk right through it. When you carry self-doubt inside you, you begin searching, often without realizing it, for someone who can make the pain stop. You crave reassurance, the feeling of being enough. Even if that feeling is brief, even if it's built on illusion, it offers relief from the constant whisper of not good enough that echoes in your mind. A narcissistic woman can sense that insecurity instantly. She's drawn to it the way a shark senses blood in the water. She notices the smallest details, the way you rush to apologize, the way you hesitate before speaking, the way you light up when someone gives you approval. To her, these are signals, small cracks she knows exactly how to slip through. At first, her attention feels intoxicating. It's warmth after a long winter. It feels like finally being noticed, finally being chosen. Her compliments are perfectly timed. Her admiration feels real. She studies you closely, learning what makes you feel special, and then she gives it to you. Every word, every glance, every smile is designed to make you believe you've finally found someone who truly understands you. But beneath that warmth lies a cost you can't yet see. Her attention is never free. Every compliment is a subtle hook. Every time she lifts you up, she's preparing to bring you down. Not out of cruelty for its own sake, but to remind you of who holds the power. The praise and affection you depend on become tools she uses to keep you tethered. And the truth is, this pattern doesn't just belong to romantic relationships. It can happen anywhere, between friends, co-workers, even within families. The form may change, but the rhythm stays the same. She gives just enough to keep you coming back, and each time you return, you hand over a little more of your confidence, your independence, your peace of mind. Eventually, you begin to confuse manipulation with love. The attention feels like care, But it's actually a transaction, one where you pay with your emotional balance. You start walking on eggshells, trying harder to please, hoping that if you do everything right, the warmth will stay. But it never does for long. The danger of this dynamic lies in how invisible it is. It doesn't announce itself with shouting or cruelty. It happens slowly, quietly, in moments that feel almost normal. You think you're receiving love or guidance, but what's really happening is an exchange of power, piece by piece, approval by approval. The more you rely on her to feel worthy, the less able you become to trust your own worth. By the end, your need for validation, the very thing that drew you to her, becomes the chain that keeps you there. She no longer has to demand control. You give it willingly, believing it's love. What once felt like healing turns into slow erosion. The parts of you that once reached for light begin to dim, until all that's left is exhaustion and confusion. And that is how it happens, not through obvious cruelty, but through the quiet manipulation of your deepest need, the need to feel enough. The second root, the illusion of strength. Narcissistic women often wear confidence like a crown, dazzling, flawless, and impossible to ignore. They seem unstoppable, unbothered, fiercely independent. To someone who wrestles with insecurity, that kind of strength feels magnetic, even intoxicating. You look at her and think, that's who I wish I could be. But here's the truth. What you're seeing isn't real strength. It's armor. Her confidence isn't grounded in self-worth. It's built on control. Every bold word, every sharp look, every moment she commands attention is part of her survival strategy. She must stay on top because deep down she's terrified of falling. Behind the shine, there's fear. Fear of being ordinary, of being invisible, of being unimportant. So she dominates every room, every conversation, every relationship. She has to win. Not because she's cruel by nature, but because losing would shatter the illusion she depends on. Her perfection is her protection. Her pride is her shield. And her control, that's the wall that keeps her from facing the truth about herself. And then there's you, the mirror she needs to keep the illusion alive. When you admire her, you become the proof she's as powerful as she wants to believe. When you seek her approval, you hand her the validation she can't give herself. To her, you're not really a partner. You're an audience. You don't share the spotlight. You hold it for her. It's not your fault that you're drawn to her. You see in her the traits you've always longed for. Confidence, clarity, self-assurance. You think being close to her might make some of that strength rub off on you. But instead, the opposite happens. The more you admire her, the smaller you feel. The more she shines, the more your light fades. Because what she calls connection isn't mutual. It's reflection. She doesn't see you. She sees how you make her look. You're not a person in her story. You're a prop that keeps her illusion alive. And that's the cruelest part of it all. You believe you're standing next to strength, but in reality, you're the one holding up its mask. The emotional manipulation cycle. It always begins beautifully, with warmth, intensity, and the kind of admiration that feels almost magical. She seems to see you in a way no one else ever has. The attention, the compliments, the late-night talks that feel like destiny. It all sweeps you off your feet. You think you've finally found someone who truly understands your heart. But then, without warning, the shift begins. Her tone sharpens. The warmth cools. the same qualities she once adored in you suddenly become too much. You're too sensitive, too emotional, too needy. You start walking on eggshells, trying to fix things, desperate to bring back the version of her you first met, the one who made you feel alive. That's when the manipulation truly takes root. She has built a powerful emotional loop, extreme highs, followed by painful lows. Those highs are intoxicating, so much so that you'll do anything to avoid losing them. When you comply, she rewards you with affection. When you assert yourself, she withdraws, punishes, or criticizes. Your love becomes a never-ending exam, and no matter how hard you try, you never seem to pass. Over time, you stop noticing the cruelty. You tell yourself she's just having a bad day, or that you're overreacting. You focus only on getting back to the good moments, the way things used to be. And that's exactly what she wants. A narcissistic woman doesn't have to destroy you directly. She only has to make you question your own sense of reality. Once she controls what you believe, she controls you. This is the trap. She hurts you and convinces you it's your fault. She takes your loyalty and labels it weakness. She breaks your trust and calls it a misunderstanding. Each twist leaves you a little more confused, a little more dependent, a little more willing to doubt yourself rather than her. And while you're busy apologizing, over-explaining, and proving your worth, she's already rewriting the story. In her version, she's the victim, the misunderstood hero, and you're the problem. That's how the cycle survives. Not by force, but by distortion, by turning your love into guilt, and your truth into her weapon. The realization, how you keep the cycle alive. The hardest truth to face is this: manipulation only continues because without realizing it, you help keep it alive. Every time you explain away her cruelty by saying, "That's just how she is," you protect her power. Every time you apologize first just to keep the peace, you teach her that your silence can be bought. Every time you ignore that small voice inside, the one that whispers something's not right, you show her that she can shape your reality. You're not weak for doing this. You've been trained to. Maybe your past taught you to avoid conflict, to stay calm, to be the one who keeps things together. You learned that peace, even fake peace, was safer than confrontation. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, those gentle traits, compassion, patience, understanding, become twisted into tools she can use against you. The more you tolerate, the more she takes. Each time you forgive without real accountability, she learns she can cross the same line again, and a little further next time. What you think is maturity or kindness becomes silent permission for more manipulation. Breaking the pattern doesn't begin with blame. It begins with awareness. The moment you stop focusing on changing her and start recognizing your role in the cycle, something powerful happens. The game loses its grip. You begin to see that every emotional hook only works if you bite. Every argument only spins when you engage. Every power play only succeeds if you still seek her approval. That's the truth at the heart of recovery. Narcissistic control ends the moment you stop needing their validation. When you no longer crave their approval, their games collapse. You don't need to fight or explain or prove anything. You just step out of the dance. And, without your participation, the entire illusion falls apart. The way out, reclaiming your power. Freedom doesn't start when she walks away. It starts the moment you stop chasing her approval. It begins when you understand that disappointing someone doesn't make you a bad person. It begins when you stop performing for love and start protecting your peace. Taking your power back isn't about revenge or proving a point. It's about refusing to play the game. You stop over-explaining. You stop defending yourself to someone who never listens. You stop trying to earn love that's conditional. Instead, you learn to say no, clearly, calmly, and without guilt. You realize that silence can be stronger than any argument. Healing doesn't come from confronting her or making her see what she did. It comes from clarity, the quiet understanding that you no longer owe her your energy. You don't need her validation to confirm your worth. You don't need her apology to move on. You don't need her attention to feel seen. As you begin to nurture your self-worth, manipulation loses its grip. You see how boundaries aren't cruel. They're acts of protection. You realize that self-respect isn't arrogance. It's balance. It's the quiet strength of choosing yourself even when someone else tries to make you feel guilty for it. Picture this. You meet her again. The same charm, the same confidence, the same familiar tactics. But this time, something in you has shifted. You're calm. You don't shrink under her gaze. You don't chase her approval. You don't explain your choices or question your value. You see through the performance, and for the first time, you have no desire to play along. That's what real power looks like. Not control over others, but mastery over yourself. The ability to stand in your truth without needing to convince anyone else. The freedom to walk away, not out of anger, but out of peace. Stop feeding the fire that burns you. Narcissistic women thrive on what you give them: attention, admiration, apology. Take that away, and their control collapses. The cycle ends when you stop believing that your worth depends on their approval. You were never meant to be the background of someone else's story. You were never meant to lose your peace just to keep someone else comfortable. The more you respect your energy, the faster manipulation loses its grip. So protect your softness, but pair it with strength. Be kind, but don't be blind. Love deeply, but not at the expense of yourself. You have nothing to prove to those who feed on your doubt. You have everything to gain by standing in your truth. Walk away from the people who make you question your worth, not because you hate them, but because you finally remembered yours. And as always, because YouTube's algorithm tends to favor videos with strong engagement, if you feel this video has brought you value, a simple like and a quick subscribe would mean so much. It not only helps this message reach more people who need it, but also ensures you will never miss the next video that could make a difference in your journey. Thanks all.